Did it show up now?
If you want the notes to show, it does not show the notes. It only shows the main screen, like slideshow.
Yeah, if the notes work, I'm supposed to be the only who sees them. But is it now okay? The full screen is on?
Full screen is on, yes.
Okay. Is it moving?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. The old city was falling under European bombing, with troops seeping through its fortified walls to engage in an urban guerrilla warfare with us, comrades of mostly Eastern, Western, and Southern African descent. Grounded yet accompanied by an embedded parallel bird's eye view depicting the city framed within a white envelope and situated in an infinite plane of placelessness. Lacked ammunition, sequences of precise confronting and maneuvering, eventually a sharp red roller ball pen, which I used to write my diaries, became the only tool in my arsenal for resistance. Sidi Ahmed al-Sharif al-Senussi, who led anti-colonial resistance against the Italians, British, and French in North Africa, has just passed away. We walked around inventorying what has vanished and what remained, speechless and confused as we watched the airplanes dissolve into blurry clouds. It was the death of the old city. I woke up in uncertain enthusiasm, and with my same sharp red pen, I scribbled diagrams to archive fragments of what remained. The old city from the dream was a strange synthesis between the Senussi Zawiya of Jarboub and old Benghazi. Layers of destruction, revolt, and reconstruction has given her the name Asiya, rebellious, an urban archive of conflict and resistance. Benghazi's old city here is both the laboratory and the project for excavation and transformation. The objective of the experiment is to turn 7 sites of erasure into active spaces for collective memory and autonomous growth that are incrementally proliferate to reform the city in tactical, architectural, and urban scales. Qasr Hamad Street in Al Shabi zone, which is Site 1, becomes a core spine of operation for its symbolic and urban position in the area. In Mnaina House in Qasr Hamad Street, the Senussi movement declared the first battle against the Italian colonialism, Giuliana, in 1911. Founder of the movement, Muhammad bin Ali al-Senussi, used to be hosted in the same house as he and his followers were building the first and only Senussi Zawiya in Benghazi at the street. About 2 decades later, the Italian fascist government demolished the city's cemetery where Sidi el-Shabi shrine existed to pave Via Roma, the street intersecting with Qasr Hamad Street. Local narratives recall the residents avoided the area for a while, fearing the ghosts possibly unleashed by the violation of the graves. The quote-unquote developed area hosted the consul's district, layered with a Cartesian grid bordering the old quote-unquote underdeveloped Ottoman and Arab areas. This act of erasing sacred sites was to be continued by the Gaddafi regime in the post-2011 revolution, a colonial continuum culminating in the 2023 military-led demolition and modernization plan of post-war Benghazi. As a kid, I first encountered the so-called mother of Zawiyas in Jarboub as limestone rubble, a subject of Gaddafi's 1984 campaign to erase Senussi legacy. Yet, within this destruction and incarceration survive a pedagogical steward. My family's mentor, Sheikh Muhammad Nasib, taught spiritual and strategic resistance. He advised my father and uncles to position themselves as urban planners on field trips to maneuver state oppression. They would indeed operate between Benghazi and Jarboub to collectively imagine, draw, and discuss the reconstruction of the Zawiya in the revival of the country. After his passing, Sidi Muhammad Nasib's soul was mentioned as liberated in Barzakh, wandering around concerned about his yet to be accomplished mission. The Senussi Zawiyas are a decentralized network of autonomous lodges that served as a hybrid infrastructure of spiritual, pedagogical, and agricultural empowerment. A constellation of 146 hubs across North Africa and the Arab Peninsula. On a multicultural landscape of solidarity, it was also exchanging economic and social resources with other Sufi orders in the region, such as Tijaniya and Muridiyya, particularly in their joint anti-colonial resistance. This project conceives the Zawiya as a generative architectural typology to inform the reconstruction of post-war Benghazi through three categories: program, scale, and ideology. Programmed through diverse rituals of cultivation, construction, and resistance, the Zawiya worked on bridging the local, geographic, and the universal. Liberation is found in A'mar al-Ard, cultivation of land, with struggling against internal ego or nafs and internal and external colonialism, making it a social political cosmology that merges spiritual and practical agency. As Benghazi's Zawiya infrastructure has been erased in the post-war period, this experiment reinterprets and condenses this social-spatial typology in hybrid multinodal urban devices that generate collective rituals of reclamation. These tactical instruments are curated through multi-programmatic strategies to catalyze incremental autonomous living based on urban agriculture, education, and art. This project, therefore, proposes a shift in the Western-centric approach of tactical urbanism, from the temporary pop-up aesthetic to rooted multi-scalar infrastructures. In his planning of model Benghazi, urban planner Doxiadis, although based his theory around the bottom-up polycentric growth of historic cities, defaulted to a top-down Cartesian imposition. While it succeeded in a monstrous urban growth in Benghazi today, the old city has been abandoned and has been an abandoned and deactivated point of origin. Another urban planner of Benghazi's 1960s modernization, Kisho Karakawa, designed a techno-utopian agricultural city for rebuilding post-war Japan by devising shrines into their multi-programmatic intersecting grids. Our approach is examined into a multi-scalar unfolding, beginning with the domestic interior, a single device, and penetrates the neighborhood and the metropolis through strategic phasing, or what we will call here urgent slowness. This experimentation is rooted in TAJARROD's long-term process of public space organizing, installation, and collaborative archiving workshops, where we started with reconstructing an oral archive consisting of fragmentary memories, ideas, and anecdotes. Most of these places are already erased now. Through particular ongoing sessions in Haush Mnaina, part of our first site, there was an astonishing discovery that most of the locals' elderly generation viewed Italian colonial architecture as an inevitable part of the city's identity. Some others with sarcastic bitterness said, "We wish that the Italians are still here. Libya could have been part of the European Union." As Libyan military has been radically negligent towards the value of preserving the old city, which they are now gradually demolishing, it felt as if the mere mention of colonial architecture caused a deep provocation. One participant said, "It's a backward mentality to view such an architecture that is part of the city's identity as colonial and decide to erase it. Buildings do not colonize people, people do." Another person emphasizes, "These buildings, these Italian buildings, were built by the hands of Libyans on Libyan soil. So they belong to us, and that's our reclamation." My mind drifted, feeling like a renegade, perplexed at academia's exhaustion of terms such as de and anti-colonization, without directly confronting its sharp, on-ground challenges, of which I am also complicit in. In the same house's courtyard, our host Haj Saleh Mnaina showed us where the kusha used to sit. The idea of kusha appeared in Benghazi as an interior stage with a double seat that brought together the bride and the groom, as well as mixed males and females in one space, which was not permissible or just didn't exist before. A simple device giving form to a transformative social will. The project would be executed through 5 phases: excavation, infiltration, proliferation, agglomeration, and eventually autonomy. In this presentation, we only focus on phase 1, which revolved around research and archiving, and 2, showcasing short-term programmatic and design interventions. It consists of the inauguration of the project through collective seeding and planting of Site 1, which is Qasr Hamad Street. This will be followed by the installing of prototype 0 in collective rituals such as praying, cooking, dining, reading, listening, inspired by the multifunctionality of the Senussi Zawiya that sits at the southern end of the same street controlled by religious fundamentalists. Prototype 0 is a modular hybrid device, cross-programmed with an inventory of fragments of the city's historical rituals derived from the Zawiya and other sacred and cultural sites in the district, such as Maidat al-Rahman, the collective cooking and dining, Souq, Halaqa of reading and learning, Ard Halji interactive archive, Arisha, the shaded plant structure, Kusha platform, Mastaba wall embedded bench, the Sania of self-sufficient agriculture, Masalla, prayer space, and Hakawati, the vocal ritual, which we will not explain in detail here. These programs will be generated through a prototype that acts as a microcosm of autonomous living based on the multiplicity of scale, ritual, and cosmology of resistance. Its living archive consists of physical documents stored in its tectonic shelves, as well as an oral memory broadcasted in a sound system embedded in its minaret, which also calls prayer and plays music. After these prototypical phases, the project proliferates these tactical devices across the rest of the historic sites within a 15 minutes walking radius, with further development and refinement of agricultural and productive techniques and technologies, eventually agglomerating various social and economic activity in the district and establishing administrative organizations, creating informal stewardship that allows the community to defend their history against future state-led erasure. In passive use, it could simply be a planter that calls Dhuhr prayer after an Kulthum song, or broadcast radio national news for a bored urban dweller. On a radical day, it could recall a story of resistance, unfold political acts, and provoke the community to devise rituals of prepare to reclaim space and history. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sarri.